This car is automatic. It's systematic. Why, Mickey Mcdonald's car is hydromatic. Why, it's grease lightning. Grease lightning.
I'm Laura Charlton.
And I'm Rick Thompson, filling in for Mike Bonner, who we believe is lost in Toronto somewhere.
Really?
Really? Well, it's great to be back in Halifax and see all the progress the city is making.
Mariana rings like a bell through the night, and wouldn't you love to love her?
Let's raise $1 million for mental health.
If I hit $1 million,
If I had $1 million,
I wanna be somebody else. I wanna be somebody else.
Let the sky fall when it crumbles. We will stand tall and face it all together when the sky falls.
We must be one hell of a team. Our Lord is hard to be humble when we're gorgeous and living the dream.
Back through the years, I go wandering once again. Back through the seasons of my youth.
Her name was Lola. She was a showgirl with yellow flowers in her hair and a dress cut down to there. She would merengue and do the cha-cha.
You all made it here, which means you'll make it anywhere because you sing, you dance, you care.
Well, hello and welcome to BMO Bank of Montreal's A Very Different Stage of Mind. My name is Nancy Regan and I'm coming to you tonight from my home. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. We are all treaty people. Of course, we were supposed to be joining you live tonight from the professional broadcast studio at the Halifax Convention Centre, but COVID had other plans for us. Like Dr. Strang would say, though, we came roaring back. This fundraiser is too important to be sidelined. I'm so proud to be returning as MC of this special event in support of the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia. It's a particular pleasure and privilege for me to take part because I was actually involved in the very first edition of A Different Stage of Mind back in 2004. Take a look at this. I think it's safe to say when Ruth Goldblum, Fred McGilvery, Ken Rowe, George Keynes, Robert Zedd, and I took to the stage as the six Elvises, we had no idea the event would continue to be one of Halifax's most popular fundraisers 18 years later. What amazing memories. We have a really fun show lined up for you this evening. A very cool look back on some of the more memorable moments of events gone by, both on stage and behind the scenes. We're also going to be chatting with some past performers about their favorite different stage of mind memories. And we'll hear from the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia about the impact your support of this event has in communities right across the province. Of course, we couldn't put on an event like this without a whole lot of help. I'd like to say a huge thank you to our presenting sponsor, BMO Bank of Montreal, for their continued support year after year. BMO has put mental health center stage, and never has it been as urgent as it is right now. With that, I'd like to welcome BMO's Regional President, Justin Scully. Justin, thanks so much for joining us for this very different year.
Thanks, Nancy. It's a real pleasure to be back for the 18th annual event. BMO has been an incredibly proud sponsor of A Different Stage of Mind since 2009. And we couldn't be more impressed with the innovation we're seeing here tonight.
It's certainly a modified approach, that's for sure. But it's also one, that allows us to reach a much larger audience.
And that's fantastic. I think more people need to see our past and present BMO employees on stage dancing and singing in costume.
Yes, but wait a sec. Have you been up there yet?
No, definitely not yet. But many of my colleagues have, including Mike Bonner as Garth Brooks, Carolyn Booth and friends as Sweet Caroline and the Blue Notes, Mark Shampoo, Jamie Lockery, Ian McGuinness, and friend Jeff Terrio as the BMO Wealth Pack, and several associates who joined both the Women for Mental Health Choir and the Glorious Ladies Choir.
Let's take a look at some of those highlights right now.
Well, I'm on my way to the city lights, to a pretty place. The signs you light on the city light. Oh,
With sweet love and devotion,
oh,
deeply touching my emotion. I wanna stop. Thank you, baby. I just wanna stop. And thank you, baby.
how sweet it is to be loved by you.
Oh, no, no, can't describe.
Sweet Caroline. A good time's never seemed so good. So good.
It's my life, and it's now or never. I ain't gonna live forever. I just wanna live while I'm alive. Well, sometimes the faster it gets, the less you need to know. But you gotta remember, the smarter it gets, the further it's gonna go. When you blow it hydro, am I original? Yeah. Am I the only one? Yeah. Am I sexual? No. Am I everything you need? You better rock your body right, everybody. Yeah. Rock your body. Yeah. Everybody. Rock your body right. BMO's back, alright. 'Cause I got friends in low places where the whiskey pounds and the beer chases my blues away. And I'll be okay. Purple French taillights, 30-inch fins, oh yeah. Palomino dashboard, dual muffled twins, oh yeah. With new pistons, plugs and shocks, we'll be leaving from the dock. You know that Aunt bragging, she's a real Halloween grease lightning. Summer loving had me a blast.
Summer loving happened so fast.
I met a girl crazy for me.
Money, money, raising money for mental health. Money, 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 lots of money for mental health. All the things we can do if we raise a lot of money for mental health.
Oh my gosh, so fun to see those. I love those ABBA costumes.
And of course, Mike Bonner's hat. When you get right down to it, A Different Stage of Mind is really the perfect combination of fun, entertainment, and growing support for mental health programming across the province. Our partnership with the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia continues to thrive, and as a result, the foundation is able to support greater numbers of Nova Scotians who are living with mental illness and addiction and their families. And that's what is most important here tonight. And all of us at BMO are incredibly proud to be part of it.
And we are so happy to have you and your passionate support again this year. Thank you so much, Justin, and we'll look forward to seeing you on stage next year. We have a few more thank yous we'd like to acknowledge, as we wouldn't be able to do any of this without the help of our community. Our sincerest thank you to Amira, as well as the Mcdonald Brothers Miko group of companies and McFarland's for coming on board as our premier sponsors tonight. To our spotlight sponsors, LifeWorks and Onyx, Thank you. And big gratitude to our producer sponsor, Cox and Palmer. In a year like no other, these generous companies continue to give back to our community. Let's hear from some of them now.
Emera is proud to support the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia through this year's very different stage of mind. All of us, as employees of Emera companies, are part of the Nova Scotia community, from Clark's Harbour to Wreck Cove. And so we care about improving access to mental health services for all Nova Scotians. Our company has been proud to be part of this event for over 10 years. Different Stage of Mind celebrates local talent and raises funds for mental health services, all while breaking down the stigma associated with mental health issues. We know this past year has been challenging for many in our community, especially those already struggling before the pandemic. So in 2020, Emera gave over $6 million in much needed community support to those most impacted by the pandemic. And tonight, we're grateful for the chance to again support the great work of this foundation. And we want to thank all of you for participating and supporting this great cause. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mcdonald. My brother Colin and I have been sponsoring Different Stage of Mind for a number of years. We're very proud to sponsor again this year Howard Conter and his son Adam. We believe in the hard work and effort that these people put into helping Nova Scotians deal with mental health. And with the COVID and all that's happening around here now, we can use it. We can use all the help we can get. I couldn't get my brother Colin, who is affectionately known as Bob by family members, he couldn't make it because of COVID restrictions. So I've got to stand in for him. This is my buddy Bob in the gym, and he's better looking than my brother, and he doesn't talk as much. But anyways, for my brother and myself, we wish you all health and happiness, and stay safe and be kind to one another.
Hello, my name is Paula Allen. I'm Global Leader and Senior Vice President of Research and Total Wellbeing at LifeWorks. On behalf of the entire LifeWorks team, it's my pleasure to offer our support to the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia as they host a very different stage of mind. LifeWorks is completely committed to mental health, well-being, and improving the lives of individuals and improving business. Every day, our 6,000 employees globally wake up and focus on counseling, training, financial supports, ensuring pensioners get their checks, making sure that mental, physical, social, and financial well-being is supported. We help individuals on their journey, and we help organizations with tools to facilitate that journey. So without further ado, my congratulations, our congratulations to the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia, and we look forward to a wonderful event.
Good day, everyone. Paul Kawaja from Onyx. I wanted to take a moment and talk about mental health and how important it is these days. It's always been important in our life. I have many family members that deal with mental health issues. And then you go and add the COVID effect on top of it and what it's doing to everybody. I'm an extrovert and I wear a big burden being home, not knowing the rules day in, day out. And I am one of the fortunate ones. So I can only imagine what COVID and mental health combined is doing to a lot of people out there. I was very thankful when Mike Robert reached out to me for sponsorship. It's my way, it's Onyx's way of giving a little bit back to a community where I grew up, that raised me, and been so kind and nice to me over the years. Please stay safe and make the best of these times.
Thank you to the organizers of Different Stage of Mind for bringing us all together. As a sponsor, Cox & Palmer is proud to be making a difference in the lives of Nova Scotians living with mental illness and addictions. Over the last year, we have all experienced the importance of mental well-being, and we applaud organizations like the Nova Scotia Mental Health Foundation. And as I sit here at home with my bubble, I say, be kind, stay safe, stay home, and
enjoy the show.
We'd also like to recognize our director sponsors, Cisco, Hub International Limited, Raymar Construction Limited, Steel Auto Group, and Stuart McKelvey. And to all of our composer, promoter, and fan sponsors and donors, thank you for helping us change the way people think about mental illness and addiction in our community. For those of you who ordered our delicious Salt Box Brewery snack packs full of munchies from Kitchen Door Catering, we hope you're enjoying your goodies. Our sincerest thanks to a very special donor who made this possible. And even though we can't gather in person this year, we still want you to get social media, that is. Use the hashtag DSOM2021 to share your favorite moment, take a picture of your home viewing setup, or even just connect with some other DSOM fans and supporters. And right now, I'm going to bring in my dear friend and former colleague, President and CEO of the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia, Star Cunningham. Star, it is good to see your face.
It is great to see yours too. I was just on my phone doing that DSOM 2021.
You're so obedient. Thank you. I hope everyone takes their cue from you.
Well,
this is a really great example of creative thinking, the way we've been able to put this show together, because we really had to hustle.
We sure did. And, you know, the plan kept changing every week as the restrictions and the guidelines were changing. So it was pretty challenging to bring it together. Nancy, I want to take this opportunity because it's so vitally important that we pass along our thanks to you. You come back and volunteer for the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia time and time again. And I just want to say thank you so much. You just make the show.
Thank you. You're very sweet. Don't be too nice to me right now. It's a stressful time. I immediately want to tear up, but it's just an easy yes for me. You know that. This is the way I give back, Star. So, and since that first year when I played Elvis in the 2004 version, I've always said, I can MC rather than sing if you want.
Well, I was thinking we'll have to get you back on the stage in that capacity at some point too.
Maybe with you. I'll make you that deal.
Oh, okay. That could be fun.
A lot of my family members have stepped up, you know.
They have. So I'm thinking of Miriam, David, Andrew, Matt, Jeff.
Yes. So for people who don't know, my sister and brother did it, Miriam and David. They were in Greece. That was fantastic. And my sons, Andrew and Matthew, actually participated with their dad, Jeff Makeham, and did Queen. Oh my gosh, that was so good. I don't know, proud mother, I suppose, but that was one of my highlights for sure.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking we have video to share on that too.
Oh, I hope so. Oh, I loved it so much. And you know, everyone agrees that this is a beautiful event to get involved in because everyone understands the importance and everyone is touched by mental health issues in their lives.
You know, we absolutely know that's true, especially this year, Nancy, with the pandemic. And, you know, we've often talked about 1 in 5, that was the number. And now research shows that depression and anxiety are actually at rates of 1 in 4. So that's a direct result of the pandemic. And we know that people who never really had experience with poor mental health before have been experiencing that for the first time. So things like the stress and the worry and the isolation. And the other thing we know is that people who are living with mental illness and addiction, and were living with mental illness at the start of the pandemic, many of them have taken a step backwards in their recovery. So it's really important now more than ever to raise money and to show Nova Scotians that we care.
Thank you so much, Star. I'm going to check back in with you a little later in the show. We know it's been a difficult year for so many people, but despite that, the generosity Nova Scotians have shown this event has been overwhelming. Let's keep that total growing all night. You can make your donation online at mentalhealthns.ca. And now I'd like to welcome a man who has been involved with this event since day one. In fact, he was instrumental in getting it started. From performing as Elvis back in 2004 to leading several Men of the Deeper Pockets choirs over the years, Robert Zed is the original DSOM alumni. Hey, Robert, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, Nance. Nice to see you. Nice to be here.
I was kind of hoping to see you in your Elvis outfit, I'll tell you.
You know, I thought you would be in yours, but I got an inside track that you were being professional, so I thought I better be a little bit too.
We have that funny dynamic between us now. Whenever we see each other in public, we see each other in our tight Elvis suit. So
Yeah, it's just not a great visual.
when you think back to that very first version of A Different Stage of Mind in 2004, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Well, the first thing is I don't think back automatically 17 years. I think back 18 years or longer, because when Bob Van Wart, the chair of the Mental Health Foundation back then, came to see me about this event, he had an idea of what he had seen, something in Florida of a costume party. And he said, I wonder if we could do anything cool here. And that's when Zed Events was launching, and we created this event to celebrate mental health. And look, we've had every format, every community star, every corporate citizen involved over the years. But when I think of 2004, I do think of Elvis, and I think of you in that Elvis suit. And I think of 6 Elvises all together. We didn't know what we were doing, but I am imprinted with Ruth Goldblum as tap dancing Elvis.
That's one of my favorite memories ever.
Yeah, it's well, she set the tone, didn't she?
She really did. And you remember, she forgot to sing. She kept forgetting to sing, but she had such a huge smile and she was so entertaining. It didn't matter one bit.
If you remember, when she was tap dancing, her wig twisted a little bit and she's dancing away and we're yelling, sing, Ruth, sing, but she didn't bother her.
She was a big part of the reason I said yes, because it wasn't an established event. And when you asked me to do it, I remember thinking, really?
Well,
and fortunately, the group that got involved, I couldn't say no. So it was just so much fun, and Ruth was such a huge part of that. I guess I want to talk about mental health, because in 2004, we weren't talking about it as we are now.
Yeah.
And so why was it so important for you then to get involved?
Well, Different Stage of Mind wasn't our first involvement in mental health. I mean, my original involvement goes back 28 years with Festival of Trees and Charlie Keating and Carol Young, because back then, you're right, we weren't talking about mental health. Could you imagine if we had the discussions in mental health and if we had a COVID pandemic back then, how the two worlds would be so different? So it was really very much, while we haven't lost that stigma, the stigma was very, very strong. I remember very vividly that we put an ad in the paper with a brain, and we said it was just another body part, and we need to change the way we think about mental health. That's why I wanted to get involved. It's about, the message supporting 1 in 5 Nova Scotians. It's about the stars and the agents and raising money and actually celebrating mental health. And frankly, the overall guest experience, celebrating mental health in our community. That's what this event is all about.
Yeah, for me, it's about connection, very much so. And speaking of connections, I guess, I didn't intend to make that segue, but in 2013, you arranged for a very special guest to join the Men of the Deeper Pockets, or was it Deep then? Pockets Choir. How did you pull that off and keep it a secret?
Well, Stevie Dukes, who was the musical producer for years, it was his finessing with Rita's drummer, and they were very good friends. And we had, what about if we did this special appearance? And we tried for months and months. And I said, Steve, the big key is we'll have to keep it a secret. And the only 3 people that knew were Leanne Andrechek, who was our Zed Events executive producer, and me and Steve. And we couldn't even tell the foundation. It was that risky. And on the morning of the event, Steve called me and said, she's coming. And we had everything in place, and we had these project codes that were secret words that we decided once we got her there, all of the things would happen. So I was in the green room and I got this secret word and I couldn't believe it. Rita is here. So I was called upstairs to meet with Rita. And she said, well, I heard you've been practicing. And yes, we have. And she said, what do you want from me? And I said, well, I'd like you to sing with the choir. And she said, well, there'll be 2 conditions. She said, I will only sing if you start and I listen to what the choir's doing. And I will only sing if you sing with me. Well, I was a wreck. And, then we had 30 choir members who didn't know what they were going to do. And Nancy, I'm not sure if you remember this, but when I walked out on stage, you were at center point in the audience and you went like this. Oh my God, it's Rita. And I think that's the thing that got me the most nervous.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. But for anyone who doesn't know who we're talking about, Rita Mcneil was an international star. No way to say it other than that. And also a woman with just the most beautiful heart. So I loved that moment, Robert. It takes my breath away to think about it. And that was a good get, really.
It was a big moment. That was her last public engagement. She died 6 weeks later, and that was 8 years ago. And how appropriate we're talking about Rita tonight. And she just was admitted to the Hall of Fame. So perfect timing on that thought.
Yeah. What would you say is your very favorite memory of all the years?
Oh my heavens!
Can you pick one?
I can't pick one, but my favorite memories are of people. And for the past 17 years, I am proud to say that most of the people that you're going to see on this show tonight were people who I dragged in willingly. Well, maybe not so willingly, but the stars, as agents, as supporters and sponsors, and the Stevie Dukes and the Zed Events producers, they came back every year. That to me is the essence of what this event is all about. We used to have individuals whispering about mental health, and now we have choirs singing about it and spreading the message to thousands of people. 25 years ago, we couldn't have even talked about this as openly as we do. So today those memories are about changing the way we think about mental health.
Well, thank you for the energy and enthusiasm you've brought to it over the years, and for everything you've done, and for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. And it wouldn't be a different stage of mind without you. Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Nance.
And now let's check in with another past performer. This one's notorious. In 2013, Pete Luckett traded his Annapolis Valley vineyard for the DSOM stage, where he performed unforgettably as Phil Collins. Here's what Pete had to say about that memorable night.
I have jumped out of aeroplanes, bungee jumped the second highest bungee in the world, raced motorcycles, high-speed cars, the works. I've always been a bit of a risk taker, but never have I been so scared or so nervous as the night for a different stage of mind when I attempted to be Phil Collins. Oh my goodness, talk about a daunting task. But that's not just it. Here's my story. I'm Pete Luckett, by the way, and leading it up to that night, you've got to practice and make sure you're on for the night. So I can't sing a note and I can't remember words. I'm the worst. So I had to practice for 5 weeks leading up to the big night. So the best place to practice is driving in my truck when I'm coming into the city. Stevie Dukes, our musical director, my old pal, had made me a CD, which was like a blank karaoke CD. It had the music but no words, allowed me to practice. I was driving through Dartmouth one day into the city. I'm singing along, oblivious to all the world and the traffic around me. The next minute I look over, there's this cop at the side of me, got his window wind down, shouting across to me, bright red face, "Will you pull the F over?" I thought, crikey, what have I done? Didn't realise. So I pulled over. I thought, I'm in trouble here. I thought, when the cop comes to the window, I'll get ahead of him. I said, "Officer, you're not going to believe what you're about to hear." And I told him the story. I was practicing to be Phil Collins. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. You know, all that stuff. And he wasn't amused. And then I asked him, "Are you willing to sponsor me?" Well, he didn't sponsor me, but he did feel a little sympathy, and he gave me a reduced ticket. At that time, you're supposed to say thank you, which I did. And that's my big memory of the night for a different stage of mind. So it was great fun, very bad. You've either got to be very, very good or very, very bad. And I was in the very bad zone, but it was still good. All right, see you later. Have a great night. Toodly-doo.
studio. Whoa, whoa. Now she don't even know my name, but I think she likes me just the same. Studio. Whoa, whoa. If she called me, I'd be there. I'd come running anywhere. She's all I need, all of my life. I feel so good when I say the word.
Wow, Pete, as always, you are a good sport. Thanks so much for that. Danny Chedra may be best known as a prominent Halifax developer, but did you know he's also a past chair of the Mental Health Foundation Board of Trustees? He's also no stranger to the stage. His first appearance was as a pirate. Then in 2006, he transformed into Ray Charles, a role he reprised for our special 15th anniversary alumni show in 2018. Here's what Danny remembers most about taking part.
I just joined the board of the Mental Health Foundation at the time. I was a real new, and I didn't want to disappoint, so I remember coming home and telling my wife, I'm going to perform a different stage of mine. And she looked at me, she goes, well, you can't sing. I said, I know that, but I couldn't say no to them. So I remember the first meeting we had. I met Sarah Dennis, Rob Steele, and Mcdonald. I was very intimidated by all three of them because I felt, well, they volunteer, so they must be able to sing and I can't. And we became friends after that. I've never met all three before that time, and after 15 years later, I can truly say that great friends with all three of them. And in fact, we formed a business partnership with Mcdonald recently. Amazing people, amazing community people, and I was a part of that. Of the group of four, way back in 2006.
So fun to hear all these memories. Thanks, Danny. Last year, A Different Stage of Mind was memorable for a number of reasons, one of which was that it was the last big event in Halifax before the start of the pandemic. It also featured a special performance by a group of first responders, including Halifax Regional Deputy Chief of Police, Don McLean. Here's what he had to say about the event.
I look back at, my participation in a different stage of mind. It brings a smile to my face, for one. To go through that process and to get over, your own anxieties and your own fears, I think, to a certain degree, because it's not easy to get up on a stage with 1,000 people and do something which is entirely out of your comfort zone.
I said a hip hop, hit it, hip hop, you don't stop. I rock it out, baby, do the boogity bang, I do the rhythm of the boogity beat.
But then you put it in the context of why you're there, and you're there because of bringing a discussion of mental health and raising funds for mental health. And certainly our team, which was the first responders, I think we recognized that there are certainly unique inherent challenges with what we do that could contribute to mental health concerns, and for us to be able to go up there and in our own little way help contribute to some sort of positive aspect of bringing attention to mental health concerns in the first responder community. It can only be a good thing.
If you've ever attended A Different Stage of Mind in person, you probably know that musical talent isn't a requirement, just enthusiasm. The performers are business and community leaders, not professional singers. I say that for myself in 2004 for sure. Fortunately, though, there's strength in numbers, which is why choirs have become such an important part of the event over the years, and transformative as well in terms of fundraising. Let's take a look back at some of these group performances now.
Yes, I can make it now. The rain is gone. All of the bad feelings have disappeared. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. I say it's all I've been down underground, and I swear to God, if I ever see the sun, or for any length of time, I can hold it in my mind. I never again will go down underground.
Wow, I bet you saw someone you knew there. I spotted former foundation board chairs Carol Young, Danny Chedra, Daryl Johnston, and Alisa Ailward in there, along with Dr. Alexa Bagnall, the chief of psychiatry at the IWK Health Center, and Dr. Phil Thibault, the director of the Nova Scotia Early Psychosis Program. How fun to see so many people coming together to raise their voices for such an amazing cause. As you've heard, the amazing folks who take part in this event are not professional singers. I said that, right? But I think it's safe to say most of them feel a connection to music. That's especially true for the mother-son duo behind Team Pat, who performed at a different stage of mind in 2017. Let's meet them now and hear their reasons for lending their voices to mental health and addiction awareness.
That was pretty special. He was like a big personality, lots of fun. He had a lot of people loved him. A lot of people remembered him. He touched a lot of lives just because he was so open.
When Dad took his life, like we were just so taken away by it. We didn't really expect it to ever happen. And I don't think you do when something like that happens to you. It's just the unimaginable comes to reality.
Team Pat for me, it's kind of like something that you can hang on to and know that it's bigger than the name, and also a way to reach out to others that are in need.
And what it did also, because we gave it an identity, is turn into something further. So, we're sitting here in front of you today under the same sort of banner. Getting people okay, like opening up the narrative is really important.
Having this Team Pat and having that congregation of everybody who loved him, to me, creates this energy that grows and grows and grows. And that's who he is and who he was. So performing on stage and raising funds for mental health is kind of how we've dealt with our sadness.
Don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys.
We kind of got involved a little bit later, maybe into the planning of the event that we took part in. It took about 2 weeks. It was kind of a fast-paced thing, and I remember how nervous I was because of that. That was probably the biggest time I was on stage singing in front of people. So it was definitely like a thrilling moment. I remember just how nervous I was going up at that moment. My guts were wrenched.
I was the opposite, actually. I was nervous all week, and then I got my mojo going just before, It was almost like I got out of myself because I really wanted the message to be heard. I've always wanted to be a rock star, so it never happened. So if that was my moment, that was great.
It's your Stevie Nicks moment.
We weren't really one of the acts that was in competition. We were just a special act. So when they started to give the awards out for People's Choice, our friends stood up and started stomping and chanting, Team Pat, Team Pat. So the mayor had no choice but to give us the People's Choice Award. It was one of the best moments of my life, honestly.
The winner of tonight's People's Choice Award is Team Pat.
It was just knowing that all that support was there, our friends and family were there behind us. It was really cool.
It is nice to have DSOM go on this year, even though it's in a new format, just to bring everyone together again and kind of shed light on the fact that we're all going through a emotional roller coaster. And it's something that we need to keep focusing our attention towards. So I appreciate them putting it on again this year, all of you.
Our next guest needs no introduction. He is the man in charge of this great city, but of course he's also known around here as the Phantom of the Opera, Elvis, and the Sheriff. Mayor Mike Savage has served as MC of A Different Stage of Mind many times, and it is my pleasure to welcome him back tonight. Your worship, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Nancy. I'm glad that Different Stage of Mind has upgraded at the MC level.
I hope you don't feel like I squeezed you out this year.
I'm okay. A little bit hurt, you know.
Mike, you and me next year, what do you say?
Whatever we're asked to do.
Exactly. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of A Different Stage of Mind?
Community. I think it's community. People helping each other and understanding the importance of mental health. And if of course, everybody would understand that that's been stretched in the last year, and more than ever, we need those kind of supports from the Mental Health Foundation, but also from each other. And I think, by and large, Nova Scotians have given that to each other.
I agree. Out of all the events you host, Mike, and attend throughout the city, what do you think sets this one apart? It's fun, for one thing. It's not an event that you sort of think, oh, I got to go do this event again. It's fun, right? So, and that's important. But I do think that it is. If you ask most people, what is an issue that has been getting more attention but needs more attention, I think everybody would agree that the issue of mental health would be one of those things. And so I think that this has become a standard in the community. It's something we all look forward to, and look forward to doing it in person again, too. Well, you always bring your irreverent, hilarious humor, and that is so appreciated. It's part of what makes it fun and unpredictable. What is your very favorite DSOM memory?
Okay, now I didn't know what we were going to talk about, but I have a few. I've got a couple of little. This is from a couple of years ago. See, that's one of them. I got my cowboy hat on for that one. Here's one of me with Star from, I think, 2017. But I think I got to say, I had a lot of fun. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah.
I got my mini pearl hat on. That was the year that Gloria McCluskey and I sang, "Oh Lord, It's Hard to Be Humble" together, because I swore that the reason I emceed Different Stage of Mind was so I wouldn't have to sing. And then I ended up singing anyway. There's been a lot of them, but that was a fun one. You mentioned some of the other ones. They're all fun, right? They're all, you get people coming together, doing things they would otherwise not do, whatever your position in life, whether you're Jim Spatz as Leonard Cohen or Kirby as James Taylor, and all these different folks have come forward and put themselves on the line in some ways too, right? And but for a good cause and in a good spirit.
Well, you've done that for many years, Mike. So thank you so much for all you've done and for joining us tonight too. And I hope to be sharing the stage with you next year.
Next year, down the hall here from City Hall. We'll do it.
Right on.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, a few more important thank yous to pass along now. Putting on a virtual event like this is no simple task, and the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia could not have done it without the support of these generous organizations. Thank you to Advocate, our year-round print partner, and media partner CTV, who provided promotional support as well as video editing. This special broadcast wouldn't have been possible without the help of AV partner Encore. And we'd like to thank branding partner Revolve, who year after year come up with amazing branding for our events. Lastly, we'd like to pass along huge gratitude to video partner RPM for all the work they did shooting tonight's feature stories and editing all of our video montages. And now it's time to check back in with Mental Health Foundation President and CEO, Star Cunningham. Star, have you been enjoying the show?
Have I? It's fantastic to be reliving all those wonderful memories all over again.
What are a few of your favorites?
Oh boy, it's hard to pick just a few. But, I have to say right off the bat, Gladys and Mabel. Barb Hall and Paula Bond, they just wowed the audience, not once, but twice. They brought the roof down with their comedy act. Another favorite of mine, you mentioned the Grease group. So David and Miriam, your siblings, were part of that. Another couple that was part of that was Dan and Lisa, who had not met before. And when they came together to practice, they fell in love. It's a love story, and now they're married.
Huh, I didn't know that's when they met. That's fantastic.
That is when they met. And the old Spice Girls, I can't help but think of, the amazing girl power that they brought to the set. And I can't think of the Spice Girls without thinking about their amazing stylist. They sounded great and they had awesome choreography, but they also looked like $1 million. And that was thanks to our mutual friend, Nancy, the late Audrey Parker.
And she's actually over my shoulder right here.
Oh.
This is her in a silk painting.
I didn't know that.
So I thought I should mention it since her name
That's very cool. That's very cool. One of the other people that I really loved was Matt Bergar. So he was our youngest solo fundraiser. He performed as Bob Dylan, and it was very entertaining. The Copacabana group, we can't forget about this group. They came all the way from Cape Breton. So they traveled up the night before, and they celebrated in fine island style. And Paul LeBlanc with Donair Supply, when Paul LeBlanc opened his mouth on the stage, if I closed my eyes, I would have sworn I was listening to the Bare Naked Ladies album. He just blew me away, and I think blew everyone in the room away, as did Kirby Putnam. I can't talk about, best and favorite performances without mentioning Kirby as James Taylor. And then, of course, he went on to remove his wig and his hat and to perform a song as Kirby Putnam, a member of our board of trustees that he had written for his brother Andrew, who passed away due to mental illness. So, there were so many wonderful, fun moments and then so many poignant moments that it's hard to pick just one, but those are a few of my favorites.
Yeah, it touches home for so many people. And of course, we've had some actual celebrities as well, well-known performers on stage through the years.
We have, and I know Robert said earlier, mentioned Rita Mcneil. What a wonderful performance that was. And, it's such an honor to say that Nova Scotia's songbird, our songstress and our sweetheart, appeared on our stage. We also have Michaela Lynn, who's now pursuing a music career in Nashville. So she's on the move. Asia New Groove, who performed with Bernard Doucette, who was George Michael. He's from Sobeys. And then from a comedy point of view, Sean Majumber was a comedy coach. So it was really fun to have him be on the stage too. And when I think of people who are well known, I can't help but throw out a big shout out to Dr. Senator Stan Kutcher, because when we first met Stan, he was on our board of trustees, Dr. Stan Kutcher, of course, the IWK, and now he is a senator. So he's been on our stage a couple of times along with his wife, Jan.
We can say about all those people, we knew them when.
That's right.
No, do you have anyone on your wish list for future shows?
Well, besides you, and we talked about that earlier, I have been for years teasing the mayor that we need to get him to do a little more singing. He did a short duet with Gloria McCluskey a few years back, but I would love to see, if we could get the mayor, get maybe Dr. Robert Strang. Wouldn't that be the dream team?
I love that idea. He is a superstar. Dr. Strang, there's no way he's a rock star. So I think it would work pretty well. And he would bring in people. He'd put butts in seats, as they say.
He would. So I think I'll make that call. I'll make that call later this weekend.
Okay. I'll back you up on that. Thank you, Star, so much. It's just been such a pleasure to be part of this.
Oh, it's been wonderful. And Nancy, we really just asked our supporters to step up and to believe in the work that we do. And it's just been so rewarding to see so many people do that. Our partners and our sponsors that you mentioned. We also have so many amazing families who stepped up. I'm thinking of the Huskelsons and the Conters and the Mcdonalds. These are people who give because they know that it's going to make a difference. They give for the right reasons. And that's what we're hoping more people will do tonight.
Yeah, and they really set such an amazing example for other people in the community and other families. So maybe your family needs to get involved out there. Think about that. Get your siblings on the line or your parents. Thanks, Star, so much. And congratulations to your entire team. Sarah, Jill, Sherry, Laura, Erica, and of course, Kate. That Kate, she's trouble.
Wow,
Great
you have a
job.
good memory. You haven't lost your memory since the Live at 5 days.
Tell me if I missed anybody. Keep, you know what, stay safe. And just such a great job, all of you, keeping the sails full while you were navigating such a difficult time.
Thank you so much, Nance.
Okay, bye, dear. Stay
Bye.
safe. Our next guests prove that a different stage of mind is a family affair, literally. Dr. Howard Kutcher, his son Adam, who is a member of the Foundation's Board of Trustees, and daughter Jenna have taken to the stage almost too many times to count. In 2010, Howard and Adam performed as the iconic Blues Brothers duo. Who could forget that? Then 2 years later, in 2012, Jenna made her DSOM debut as Carole King. Amazing. And then in 2014, Adam and Jenna appeared as James Bond and Adele. And just last year, all three performed as the Kutcher Crooners. Add in a few choir appearances over the years, and you've got yourself one committed family. Howard, Adam, and Jenna, our 2020 People's Choice Award winners, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Howard, I'll start with a question for you. You are such an extraordinary contributor to our community and to our province and to our country for that matter. I want to know, why have you and your family stayed so committed to a different stage of mind all these years?
Well, I mean, the key is Different Stage of Mind raises money to support awareness of mental health, the importance of everyone's mental and psychological health, and also to defeat the stigma of mental health that we all see so much. Our family has been involved in a national charity now for pretty close to 20 years. So Different Stage of Mind was a great platform to help us raise money, raise awareness, and show people that mental and psychological health problems are very, very common in our society. We talk about at least 1 in 5 Nova Scotians having mental health issues. I'm telling you, in my general practice, it's for sure at least 1 in 5. And as we've gone through the last 15 months of the pandemic, which has been extremely difficult, those mental health issues have become even more to the forefront. So for us as a family, mental health issues have been a vital thing for many, many years. Different Stage of Mind was just, as I say, a tremendous platform for people to take a little bit more of a comic look at these issues, but at the same time bring awareness and most importantly, try to defeat the stigma of mental health problems.
Well, there's no question. You in some ways were a pioneer in this, because 20 years ago, you were talking about PTSD for first responders when no one else was. So I have to commend you have to mention that for sure. Okay, so let's go to Jenna. Thank you so much, Howard. Jenna, what has been the best part of the experience for you being part of a Different Stage of Mind?
I think just being a lifelong theater kid. Give me a piano and a microphone, and I think the self-confidence that comes with being a little bit older than the high school or undergraduate student, and that's just fun for me. So it's a little chance out of the ordinary to play a little bit of a diva. So I mean, it's an excuse to dress up, an excuse to sing, an excuse to be with my family more than one occasion as we continue to do this together. And sort of the cherry on top of everything is it's done for such a good cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a gorgeous voice and you're a fantastic actress. So it all, you're a triple threat for sure. Adam, then there's Adam, right? Adam, I'm just kidding. Adam, of all your appearances, which one would you say is your favorite?
I got mixed emotions on, I guess, my favorite. I think it's really neat to be able to step up on the same stage with your father to perform in an event that's so impactful. So to have that family unit come together, I think makes me really proud. At the same time, just looking back, it really is 11 years ago we did the Blues Brothers together, and the amount of practice and the amount of pure fear that we had leading up 6 weeks, 5 weeks, 2 weeks, the day of, to get that going. I don't think I'll ever forget prepping for that show, and then just how excited we were the moment it was over. You really are up there. That was back when there was kind of live stadium seating. The thoughts in my own life that have changed just in the last 10 years since that event, not to mention the 4 times my father's insisted we do it again. We've done the Blues Brothers 3 other times. And let me tell you, we were horrible those 3 other times. Like laugh out loud, crying, horrible. So we really nailed it. My father insisted we perform it at my wedding. So we surprised all of the guests at my wedding with the Blues Brothers routine. And how do you say no to your father when he's got something that's exciting and he wants to showcase it to all your friends and family? So the Blues Brothers stuff has been an act. We've retired it. We are no longer touring, but it was pretty neat to look side by side and see my father and my sister on stage last show.
Okay, well then, if you guys, were to happen to participate again, as I hope you do, and I assume you will, who do you think it would be as? Anyone?
I'm as the senior member of the family, I would have to leave it up to the 2 talented members of the family to make any future decisions. I would suggest at some point it would be like Bonfire of the Vanities, where I'd be playing the dead guy. But but we completely leave it up to them as we go forward. We now have 5 beautiful grandchildren, and Jenna's a very proud aunt to these 5 guys. And maybe someday we'll do the 7 dwarfs. I don't know, because this way Karen can be involved because she's under 5 feet. So this way we'd have at least 6 of the 7 dwarfs already picked off. So maybe down the road we'll see.
I was going to ask about Karen, but I'll let her be for now. The Sound of Music, I could also see that with all the kids along the staircase.
Very, very often portrayed with 5 dark-haired Jewish children in the cast. Yeah.
You know what? We like to switch it up here at a different stage of mind. Yeah. It is always a pleasure, Contour family. Thank you so much for all you've done, all the money you've raised over the years, and all the smiles you've put on audiences' faces. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
As you've heard, it takes real guts to head out on stage and perform in front of a room full of your friends and peers. Fortunately, the foundation has been able to enlist the help of some incredibly talented musical directors. They work with the performers in the months leading up to the event, helping draw out their talent and getting them ready to take the stage. Take a look. So what happens when you take 4 business executives with a passion for music and a competitive spirit and challenge them to raise funds for an important cause? You get the most successful fundraising team in a different stage of mind history. In 2018, Chris Huskelson, Bruce Marchand, Dave Landrigan, and Mike Roberts formed the Emira Eagles. They brought the crowd to its feet with their performance of classic rock hits. But what really solidified this group as a powerhouse was its fundraising success. Can you believe it? That year, the Emera Eagles single-handedly raised over $280,000 for the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia. It is incredible. And when they were asked if they'd help fundraise again for this year's event, the answer was an enthusiastic yes.
There are stars in the southern sky.
Well, here we are again, guys, 3 years later, but we look 10 years older. So how did that happen? When we formed the Emera Eagles in 2018 for the Different Stage of Mind show, we recognized there was a huge need for mental health services. It was much higher than resources available. And so we reached out to businesses and folks in our community to help, and they stepped up big time, and we're really grateful. You know, with the pandemic, there was a real limitation on the foundation's fundraising, just at a time when mental health needs are the greatest. And so I reached out to all of you guys, and also reached out to our good friends, Phil Otto and Daryl Johnson. And we started up our fundraising engine again.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
Mike, I think you were the first one that I spoke to about this.
Yeah, I think, Bruce, you were very strategic in your approach because you knew my first reaction would have been, I'm going to stand in front of 1,000 people and play at the Nova Center? Not a chance.
I got 7 women on my mind. More than one on me.
But you knew the cause of mental health was important to me and others and our colleagues. And you also knew I love the Eagles, and you got me that way. And so it was a great time in 2018. And going forward to this year with the pandemic, you've got a bit of a perfect storm for the clients of mental health programs. It's never been as important as it is to participate and be a part of a very different stage of mind this year.
Like a child from these warm stars.
David, how did Bruce convince you to get involved?
Excellent question, Mike. Well, it was a really easy decision. Getting up in front of 1,000 people was a little intimidating last time, but had some good friends up on stage.
Well, I'm standing on the corner of Windsor, Nova Scotia. Such a fine sight.
But more importantly, the cause is something near and dear to my heart. And that's really carried over to this time. I have to thank Bruce and Star and obviously Mike and Chris for rallying the troops in this great time of need. There's lots of Nova Scotians who rely on the Mental Health Foundation, and just really pleased to come out. And they're easy conversations when we reach out to either companies that we do business with or friends and ask them to help out the Mental Health Foundation. It's not a question of if they'll do it, it's how much they can do. And it's really nice to see in this community.
With a million stars all around.
And we're lucky enough to bring Chris back, who is a pensioner with the company, and figure that he could be a good role model for all pensioners. Chris?
Well, that's great, David. Really love to bring the retired people in. You know, it's been quite a year. You know, we've all faced quite a significant change in our lives and a very different year. So the foundation is very important to keeping Nova Scotia strong. We all believe in that. We all believe that needs to happen. In the end, we really want to thank all of the people that have helped us get to where we are right now in the fundraising. The people have been very generous, and we've really seen an outpouring of support.
Honey, you can't hide those lying eyes.
So thank you to everybody that's helped us, and we look forward to the show.
Well, well said, Chris. I don't think we can say much more than that. Very grateful for the support of the community, the folks out there that we've approached. It's been amazing how they've stepped up, and they feel as passionate about this cause as all 4 of us do. So for that, we're very grateful. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. And a
Great
good
night.
night.
I don't know about you, but I can't believe how quickly this evening is going. Time really does fly when you're sharing fun memories. Let's take a very short break now and hear a quick message from tonight's presenting sponsor, BMO Bank of Montreal.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to what comes next and to help you with whatever your next looks like, to help you make progress and come back even better than before. How do we know it's going to be okay? Because for the 200 years BMO's been in business, we've seen what you're capable of, and we've got your back for 200 more. That's better.
Our next guest is best known as the CEO of Atlantic Canada's largest automotive group. But if you were in the audience of A Different Stage of Mind in 2006, you will never forget him strutting on stage as the one and only Mick Jagger. I am so pleased to have Rob Steele joining me now. Hey, Rob, thanks for being here.
Hi there, how are you?
Oh, I'm so good. So happy to be able to do this. You know, we had to, as they say, pivot. I know no one likes that word anymore. We've had to do so much of it in the past 15 months or so. Yeah. But really appreciate you participating. I want to know, do you remember what crossed your mind when you were first asked to take part in the event all those years ago?
I'm trying to remember. I mean, it was in sort of its infancy back then. And I mean, the novelty of people kind of doing things that they normally wouldn't do, you know, sort of seeing them out of a role that you normally are, you know, used to seeing people in. It was a neat concept. And there was quite a lot of lead time. I can't remember, it was 4 or 5 months or so, you know, you commit to the thing. And when it's 4 or 5 months away, you kind of put it off a little bit. You say, oh, it's, you know, I'll get around to it. And as the date closes in, you say, well, I better get my act together. I better do some real prep here and get, because you don't want to go up on stage and embarrass yourself. You know? Of course, everyone wants to see you. That's kind of what the appeal is. You know?
That's right. But here's the thing with you. I think a lot of people had no idea that you had an acting background.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Tell us just a little bit about that.
Well, I studied at the University of Southern California. I was in the drama class back in the 80s. So I had to do a little bit of performing then and singing and that kind of stuff. And you really do sort of overcome your, you know, sort of discomfort with it pretty quickly.
But Mick Jagger is a whole other level. We've seen the video tonight. It certainly looks like you were enjoying yourself out there. How did it feel?
It's you know, you never really know how these things are going to go. You kind of hope for the best. And I was a little nervous about keeping time with the band and that kind of thing. And that particular song that the director at the time, she really wanted to Start Me Up, that song. And that's a tricky song to do. But I did reference a friend of mine who actually did a touring act in Europe called The Stolen Bones. It was a cover act for the Rolling Stones. Gary Seabright. He was the lead singer of that band. He's a friend of mine. And I actually talked to him about this. And I said, Gary, give me some hints here about Start Me Up. Like, what's the way? And he said, okay, the first thing you got to do when you open with the line, Start Me Up, he said, make sure you take your hand, point, and then point up in the sky. Oh, start me up. Like, and he said, you always have to do that. So I rehearsed that one down, and that's what I did.
Yeah. I want to know how often people ask you socially to do a repeat.
I do get that. Yeah, every now and again I get that, but I've always been a huge Rolling Stones fan. So, since my early teens, and it's still my favorite group, and I've seen them many, many times in concert. About 28 times, I think I've seen them.
So yeah. I know you've been such a huge supporter of the Different Stage of Mind over the years. Was that your favorite memory, or is there another one that stands out for you?
Well, that one was, that's kind of more of a when you're part of it, and you want to obviously raise as much money as you can, because it's all about the charity, and that's we know what the goal is. But there's a fun aspect to that, the whole performance thing. But it was a special night. It was a fun night. My parents were there, and actually my dad was there. My mom wasn't there. I can't remember why. But it was a fun night. But I've been to many of those Different Stage of Minds over the years, and they're always well done. And I'm always surprised at the caliber of how the performances. Like, people really put a lot of time and effort in it.
You're right. I think everyone sets out like you did, like, okay, I got to be ready for this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't want to make a fool of myself.
Yeah.
I remember that feeling, trust me.
Yeah.
In fact, I sang, in my year, we did Elvis's, and I sang That's All Right, Mama, which was the first recording of Elvis. And somebody told me afterwards that the guy from the newspaper thought I was lip syncing, which I was sort of offended by, but immediately thought, I take that as a compliment. Thank you very much.
That's how good you were. That's great. Yeah, of course, you're used to performing in front of the camera, so it probably came a little easier to you.
It was lots of fun. I know that the other huge element for most people who say yes is that it's all about supporting mental health, and you've contributed in so many ways for so many years. What keeps you supporting this cause?
Well, I mean, it's such a obviously it's such a worthy cause, and it's there's some real issues, that health issues that need to be addressed, and I think it's incumbent upon the business community to to give back and to try to help the community, and mental health is we all deal with it at some level, whether family members, friends, whatever the case may be, and it's just a worthwhile cause.
I think we're all dealing with it in the pandemic.
We certainly are right now. I mean, this is challenging us, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. Well, you're an outstanding example to the community in terms of corporate support and personal. So thank you so much for all you've done and all that you'll do in the future. Maybe we'll see you back on stage someday.
All right. That's great.
Thanks, Mick.
See ya.
Okay. Cheers, Rob. Really appreciate it.
Bye.
And now I'd like to introduce Alisa Ailward, Chair of the Mental Health Foundation Board of Trustees, as well as 2020 alumni. You may recognize her from the montage we saw earlier. Alisa was the lead member of last year's Glorious Ladies Choir, who performed the music of ABBA. Alisa.
Hi there. I'm Alisa Ailward, Chair of the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia's Board of Trustees. On behalf of all of us, thank you for tuning in. There is no denying it that this year has been a very different stage of mind. Tonight's event would not have been possible without 17 years of performances featuring stars, the participation of agents, countless volunteers, sponsors, donors, and partners. And thank you to all of you. I'd also like to send out a special shout out to the ever-enthusiastic Amira Eagles for really jump-starting this year's fundraising and challenging other past stars to get involved in the fun. The pandemic has changed a lot for Nova Scotians, and the Foundation needs your help now more than ever. But the one thing that is abundantly clear, your kindness, your generosity, and your true desire to change the way that people think really will get us through this challenging time. Thank you for believing in the work that we do to support Nova Scotians living with mental illness and addiction and their families. And as a glorious lady, ABBA performer from last year's A Different Stage of Mind, I leave you with this call to action. Be a super trooper and donate now. Thank you for making a difference.
Thanks so much, Alisa. It's so great to have you be part of the show. Now, based on what you've seen here tonight, it may seem like A Different Stage of Mind is all about music. And while the majority of performances over the years have been musical in nature, there's always been room for comedic relief on stage. Over the years, a number of performers have opted for jokes over songs, including Paula Bond and Barb Hall as hilarious duo Gladys and Mabel, Dennis Campbell as Angus Sou'wester, remember that? Gloria McCluskey as Minnie Pearl, classic, and Ron Lovett, who performed an original stand-up act to great response. Tonight, we're thrilled to have one of our memorable comedians join us. Let's welcome Disco Bob, the character brought to life by Robert Logan. Robert, welcome to A Very Different Stage of Mind.
Thanks, Nancy. It is a very different stage of mind indeed.
Okay, we have to start with this. Since it's stealing the show right now, can we talk about the suit?
We sure can. This is a suit that only comes out every 8 years. So you're lucky to have landed on it here tonight. The last time I wore it was actually on A Different Stage of Mind. And this suit is actually my character that was created with my act, Disco Bob, because of course that year the theme was Studio 54. And you'll notice I look a little bit like a NASCAR driver on the front, back, and it represented all the companies that stood up and supported not only Disco Bob, but the very worthy cause of the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia.
I love the creativity that you put into it. And it's a great way of saying thank you to all those corporate sponsors and people who chipped in to make you such a success. Why did you choose comedy over a musical performance?
That was pretty easy. There are two main reasons. I can't carry a tune to save my life, so that was out for me. And the second reason is I really think comedy is a big part of overcoming mental health issues day to day. I think that it's important for emotions to get released, to de-stress people, and you can either cry or you can laugh. And I'm a big fan of laughter myself. So I'm constantly looking for that underlying joke in everyday life to sometimes help get you through those tough times.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You have been both a Different Stage of Mind performer and audience member. What do you think it is about the event that makes it so special?
The thing that I like about it is not only does it raise much needed funds for the foundation to do the great work that they do, it's also about bringing awareness to mental health. And the performers in A Different Stage of Mind are anything but pros. I mean, we maybe are made to feel like a star. Robert Zed has been very good at that, but we all know we're usually one night wonders, and it's symbolic, I think, of really what people dealing with mental health issues endure in day-to-day life. We step way outside our comfort zone. I know I did the night I crested the stage as Disco Bob, and it was an uncomfortable feeling, as it is for many of the performers, whether they're getting up there to sing. And I think back to when I shared the stage with Pete Luckett being Phil Collins, I know that was outside of his comfort zone as well. So it really symbolizes, I think, what people dealing with mental health issues deal with every single day.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I couldn't agree more, but I do have to turn it back to the suit for a moment, because I heard a rumor that it made an appearance at your wedding.
Yeah, so you're right. I misspoke earlier in saying it only comes out once every 8 years. I did make an exception. And I actually got married the same year that I was on stage at a different stage of mind. And in my act, actually, I made a reference that I might actually sport this suit at the wedding. So I felt like I had to follow through. I had to commit. And so I did sport it. I didn't get married in it, but I did have a few photos taken, and I did hit the dance floor at one point in the evening, and created a number of laughs there.
Now, I know that comedians often find it awkward that people meet them in person and want them to be funny, but I'm going to ask you anyway, do you have a zinger or two for us tonight before we wrap up?
Well,
be funny, Bob.
What's that?
Be funny, Disco Bob.
Yeah, be funny. Good one. So I will tell you kind of just a funny flashback to when I was on a different stage of mind. So it'll be a backstage kind of moment.
Awesome.
I mentioned earlier that I shared the stage with, well, that year it was Jim Spatz doing Leonard Cohen. It was Pete Luckett doing Phil Collins. And, it was very nerve-wracking leading right up to the day of the performance. And we'd all done kind of our individual rehearsals. But the day of the show, that afternoon, we did a full rehearsal where all the acts got to see each other and act as the audience when you weren't on stage. And after I came off doing my show, and that was the first time that all of these people had seen it, Pete ran up to me. He says, "Robert," he said, "oh, that was great." He said, "If I'd only known that you could have chosen comedy over singing, I would have chosen that all day long." And I started laughing because Pete's a funny guy. I said, "Pete, I got to tell you, you as Phil Collins, that is comedy."
Oh, that's pretty good. Hey, he did comedy for me with me for years on ATV.
I remember. Yeah, and he is very funny. But again, I think we all stepped outside our comfort zones and for the show for sure.
Well, you're wonderful. Thanks so much for being willing to don the suit again for us tonight. And
not a problem. And thanks for having me, Nancy. A very different stage of mind, but no better cause to support, especially now when it's needed most.
More important than ever. Thanks, Disco Bob.
Thank you.
And with that, it's time for us to wrap up this exceptional retrospective event. Believe me, there are so many other memorable moments we would have loved to share with you, but I'm afraid we've run out of time. Please visit mentalhealthns.ca to see more of our past performances. And thank you again to the amazing Amira Eagles for making BMO's A Different Stage of Mind 2021 such a fundraising success by creating a friendly competition among past stars. On behalf of the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia, I'd like to thank everyone who shared their stories and memories with us tonight. We'd also like once again to thank our presenting sponsor, BMO Bank of Montreal. And lastly, I'd like to thank you for tuning in tonight and for all the support you've shown the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia during these very challenging times. The foundation could not do the work it does without your help. And it's not too late to make a donation. Just head over to mentalhealthns.ca and click Donate Now. Stay safe, everyone. And I hope to see you in person next year at A Different Stage of Mind 2022. Good night, everybody. We'll leave you with more fabulous memories.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Don't let them pick guitars or drive them old trucks. Make them be doctors and lawyers and such. I'm working my way back to you, babe, with a burning love inside. Yeah, I'm working my way back to you, babe, with the happiness that died. I'm letting you get away.
Hold my hair, put my lipstick
me first night aboard the boat, I wanted to get tarted up a little bit, don't you think?
Well, you do look tarted up like a dog's dinner. Now, what's that pattern?
I'm your man. If you want a boxer, I will step into the ring for you.
People of the world! Oh, say you'll be there.
Just a different stage of mind.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a wonderful night.